They said you weren't going to be able to throw the ball. They said the explosion's gone from Kansas City. It isn't there to be found with Tyreek Hill down in the Everglades. They're wrong. They're completely wrong. We were wrong last week when we thought, hey, maybe this isn't going to come all the way back around. It came full circle today. The best defense in the league could not slow down Patrick Mahomes and 500 yards of offense. Ooh. We're going to tell you why, when, how, and how it all happened according to our notes. We might even have a special guest tonight. So, hey, I'm glad that you guys are here. Enjoy the win. Let's get after it. This is RGR Football. Welcome back. It's a little bit better than the last time we were here live post-game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. It's been a long week, and I know you guys have been pushing through. I know you feel it, but this is the game that I've been waiting for. This should happen every week in my brain. We're going to tell you why, when, how, and what we still need to see. He's Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is RGR Football. Make sure you hit that sub button right now if you want to be part of Rogue Nation, because we got a lot coming for you. Let's get into it. Bottom line, Patrick did what he does, but I was really happy with the resiliency the rest of the offense showed after the interception. Going down 10-0 and still being able to put up this game, this might have been the best half of football that they've played in, 2 years?
Probably. I don't think that there's any question. If you look at what they did after they went down 44-13, they laid a whooping on the 49ers after they went down 10-0. It was basically a brand new game. Like, they showed up, they got off the bus in their heads, and they were like, okay, we're here to play an actual football game. And it was over. There was no question that they were going to go down and just score almost every single time they had it. They moved the ball at will. Mahomes was unconscious. The 49ers were seeing double. The two of them out there, they didn't know what to do. They obviously got the one sack, and they literally had no answer trying to cover multiple Travis Kelce's out there. You got Fred Warner trying to get to Kelsey, and then you find, hey, Juju Smith-Schuster with nobody around.
Where'd who go?
There was nobody there. It was beautiful. This was the most brilliantly executed offensive performance that we've seen, I personally think, since his rookie season.
Wow. That's saying a lot.
His first starting season. So that's why.
Okay, close enough. Close enough. I'm with you. Hey, guys, nice to see all of you regulars in here. Terry's here. Javon's here. Avery's here. Nice to see you guys. I know we're in a much better mood. I want to give a shout out real quick, though, because first new member of the evening. I always like to grab when I get it. Welcome, Ben Collins. Nice thing is you don't have to email me anymore. Thanks to FLDB, you can go sign up for the Discord. And it's in there. I'll grab the actual link here in a second. And then you just tie your YouTube account to it. And as long as you're a rookie member or above on RGR, you get all the access. If not, it'll prompt you, and you can come back and grab that membership as well. Obviously, Patrick led this charge. Not a doubt, right?
Yeah,
but for the first time, we got the receiving core that we hoped for. I'm a little surprised in the way they chose to kind of out Debo with Mecole rather than using him as the deep threat. But when you add that element of the jet sweep action that he ran really, really well today, when you add that to MVS and that to Juju and all the chunk plays, this is the offense that we were envisioning, even with the quality of the run game. We'll talk about that in a minute. But is there anything left on the table for you, Dan, that you would have liked to seen, or is this what we had envisioned when all these signings happened?
This is the passing offense that we expected. Travis Kelce still basically gets 100 yards. They had 300. They would have had 3 100-yard receiving options in this game. And this is exactly what I think not just us, but the Chiefs envisioned. You have everywhere. You have the deep threat now with I'm gonna give a hat tip to good old MVS taking a play out of everyone's book with Charvarius Ward standing still, because we all know that he can't seem to cover anything where the ball's around. Mahomes made it a point in this game to attack back shoulder throws and Charvarius Ward in singled up coverage, because he's he's not a man-beating corner. He's a very good scheme fit corner. He's like, okay, do one job in this scheme, you can do it. You man on somebody, you're going to have some troubles. And they exploited that. And that's exactly what they want to do. Multiple guys, everybody in the passing offense. They hit, Watson for a touchdown. Gray had a couple really nice plays, not just the catch along the sideline in this game. Obviously, they got Fortson a catch in between the 20s. Everybody, there was nothing they could do. That's why the 49ers were seeing double. They didn't know who they were supposed to guard on every single play. And that is exactly what the Chiefs were hoping to see this season. And that's what we saw today. It was just a clinic put on by Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, this is what weapons are for. This is why you put this crew together. Oh, hit the wrong button there. Sorry about that. You guys, FLDB did put up the link for you, Ben, especially now that you just joined. If you guys go to this, you'll be prompted. You'll be able to see the front room of the Discord. This is the RGR Rogue Nation site that Stevie Gooch and Aaron built. FLDB has updated.
Awesome.
That I try to come to every now and then when I'm not making content, but I'm
try,
not,
guys.
Yeah, right.
Try to get in there, I promise.
But it's your community, and we're opening it up to all the viewers now so that you can just go have a look at it, and then you can decide if you want to join the memberships and get access. You can still see the front room just as anybody. If you want to support us, that's a perk for you that you get by being a member that supports the channel. So does the gear that you can get, the Rogue Nation gear. I kind of like this one. I love this logo. We got a lot more coming for you. And I know that it's been a tough week. We put a lot of content out this week, and I know some of you guys liked it. Some of you thought maybe you wanted to see something else. Let me know what you think of the shorts in the comments, the main comments, especially if you're watching this on replay and you're not with us live. What do you think of all the shorts? Because we're starting to double down because we can just get things out a little quicker, like who our big players were tonight. Obviously, for me, most of them, Travis, Patrick, but who haven't we talked about yet on the offensive side, Dan, that is the big player for you tonight?
I mean, the offensive line, personally, I think that they took everything to heart. And I know that's kind of a cop-out answer. There wasn't any one specific. You know what? We will just make this. Orlando Brown Jr., welcome back to playing for the Kansas City Chiefs, because I know that he may not have been perfect in this game, but he wasn't a glaring weakness. He was not a glaring weakness in this game. So welcome back to playing. This offensive line seemed to get something together. And I don't like the fact that it's getting bullied a couple times to get things right and get in the right direction. But the simple fact of the matter is that they came to play in two of the best. Really, I really think that they played decently against the Bills. But you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coming into that game, they were one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now coming into this game, the 49ers are one of the best defenses in the NFL. They gave Patrick Mahomes time. They ran a couple really nice run fits, okay? They had some nice schemed up runs for this game. Obviously, the run game itself is another situation. But at the end of the day, some holding penalties here and there. The offensive line really did a good job of keeping Patrick Mahomes clean and getting them into this rhythm, because without the offensive line getting Patrick into that rhythm, they probably don't put up 44 points.
You're right. I tell you what, I'm okay with this run game. They ran hard. Each of the main backs got over 5 yards a carry.
It was multiple.
Yeah. I mean, it was 8 runs for Pacheco, 6 for Clyde. I'm fine with that. If you take out Henny's 3, they had 18 called rushes, and they broke 100 yards.
Yeah.
I can't ask for more than that from an Andy Reid offense. That's enough to get me by. When I look at it, it was like, 34 attempts in the sack, so 35 versus 21. I can live with that. That's a 60-40 split, roughly. I'll have to do the math later. I can go down with that, and that's going to be just fine. You guys, it's not Q&A night. That'll be tomorrow night, normal time, 6 p.m. Central. We'll do all the Q&As. We'll try to get some today, but we're trying to get through our notes. This is the breakdown show that you get live after games with Dan and myself, and we have a special guest coming up as well. In fact, I need to go send him the link here, but we will take a question or two. I started on the offense specifically because you put up 500 yards in a ball game. You need to start there. But your impression, big takeaway of the overall performance of the defense in this one.
Oh, man. I know that people aren't excited about getting gashed in the middle, in between the 20s. I'm not super excited about it either. But what this defense can do when they're backed up against the wall, they made some really timely plays. Again, like they did against the Bills, they gave the offense a chance to take this game over multiple times. Okay. They did it multiple times. And that's what you're asking for. You don't need to be a shut down, stop everyone 3 and out all the time defense. Force teams into field goals. That's all this defense has to do, really. Because we saw it. We saw the Chiefs take over. And honestly, that they did a much better job of generating some pressure in terms of pure pass rush situations. Early in the game, the 49ers were running the ball really, really effectively, and it's really difficult to tee off on a quarterback. So that's why you didn't see Frank Clark. You didn't see Dunlap a whole lot in the first quarter of that game. There was nothing they could really do. You're trying to guess as a defensive end what's happening. And when you can play action off of that, it makes things really difficult. But as soon as this offense got ahead, Dunlap, Clark, Chris Jones, they were having their way with this offensive line. And that really plays into what I was talking about in the whole pregame process, in the game plan video we had. We talked about blitzing the crap out of Jimmy Garoppolo. Every chance you get.
Well, it's like someone knew it was coming. And for those of you who didn't catch it last time, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in here. This is something you might have seen the other day.
Jimmy G is not Josh Allen. He is not going to make an accurate throw down the field. He's not going to adjust in the pocket and make an accurate throw down the field. You get him off his spot, much like they did to Josh Allen last week. Those balls are not going to be zipped anywhere. They're going to kind of float up. We've seen it from Jimmy G. You can get him off his spot. Yeah, maybe force some interceptions. The Chiefs have one of the worst turnover differentials in the NFL. They have to be able to get some of these, throw them up in the air, get him off his spot, blitz Jimmy Garoppolo, and you'll come away with some picks, I think.
Okay, so that was supposed to be a video overlay as well.
No video, but it works. Audio's there.
But that's audio of Dan from Friday in our game plan. We always put out the game plan on Friday, so you know what we're expecting. A couple of points and the stats primer from Garrow. We put it all together this year, and that's what we do. And so it's definitely a different show. It's unique to this channel, and we try to do that. We're going to get into something here in a second that I want to make sure that we get shouted out. But first, Tristan, thanks for the support. Appreciate you.
Tristan. Appreciate it.
Appreciate all of the support you guys do with the super chats. And a lot of them are tied to some questions. So we're going to come back and get to those later. But the first thing that Daryl had mentioned earlier is that he was just coming in after having watched over on Locked On Chiefs, because that's the show. If you guys don't know, if you're new to this channel, you might be new to the Chiefs channel as well, because Chris Clark and I do Locked On Chiefs. And sometimes you just got to make the worlds collide. And I kind of enjoy doing that. So I'm going to take this off and I'm going to hide this guy. Bada boom, because guess who showed up tonight? Chris Clark. Welcome to the show. Hey, folks, this is Chris. If you don't know him, follow him at, I don't know, which one do we want to put out tonight, Chris?
Chiefs Corner is fine. Locked on Chiefs, whatever. It doesn't really matter to me.
I like it. I wish I knew where the button was to throw that up there, but sometimes I lose stuff. It's the way that it goes. So it's and Miss Avery's. We're just packing the house tonight, everybody. Night, Miss Avery.
Good night.
Good night, Avery.
So those of you who don't know, there's usually a cameo appearance by Miss Avery, Dan's daughter, on Monday nights, but Sunday night we get a bonus. I want to go all ESPN for a second and do us this way, because I enjoy this format. So you can sit back and relax a little bit. It's good. Because Chris, we're just getting into the Q&A. We kind of gave our main thoughts, but I do want to get yours too before we jump into the questions. Like, bottom line, after all of this has gone on in this ball game, what's your big takeaway from today?
My big takeaway is I think the defense played better than I expected them to. I think that you saw the pass rush actually get home at times, and they haven't been able to do that all season, and that's been a big deal all season long. Yeah,
it's enormous, and I think it's a building block.
I was just going to say, to do it against Trent Williams, and I know he's coming off an injury, but I still think that's impressive.
Frank Clark, man.
I'm going to tweet out after you guys answer this one, but Terry wants to know, are we trading Clyde before the deadline?
You can't really trade a guy who doesn't have much trade value. I mean,
I was going to say, what's the trade value there?
They're not exactly using him. They're not really using a lot of. They're collectively. They have one running back. It's just 3 guys. That's all it is. That's what they're doing right now. So they're not going to be trading Clyde. He doesn't have any trade value, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay, it happens. All right, I didn't finish in time, so you guys got to take this one too.
Appreciate appreciate you, Brett. The defensive line finally got converted. Those pressures to sacks, just like Chris was talking about. How much of it was the defensive line performing, and how much was it just because Jimmy G did Jimmy G things? This was, at least I'll let Chris go first because I know what I'm going to say. So go ahead and answer Brett here, Chris.
Yeah, I think that it was a lot. I think the defensive line did well, but I still think it was Jimmy G doing Jimmy G things. I think he held onto the ball too long at times, and when Spags started blitzing, he should have sped up his clock, and he didn't. I mean, the ball had to come out at times, and it just didn't. So, and Mahomes was guilty of that on his sack too. I thought, the sack that he got, I thought the ball should have been out already at that point.
Yeah, I think that we can play that. Spags knew exactly what Jimmy G would do, double clutch. And he did that multiple times in this game. And that was why I said you got to blitz him, because this is not Josh Allen, guys. He can't get the ball out and do so many different things that Josh Allen did against the Chiefs defense last week. This was, maybe my guy's not perfectly in the right position, and I didn't make the right pre-snap read, and I got pressure in my face. Guess what? I'm going down. And Spags was like, yeah, I'm going to keep doing that.
I love that concept, and that's what you have to do. You got to double down on what works, right? But Ben wants to know, and it's a good question, Ben. Why do you think Isaiah Pacheco was our big one for this game? What's the mental gameplay going on, Chris?
It's really curious to me. I think you've seen Isaiah Pacheco run very hard, and I think the biggest thing that people have been a little furious at Clyde for over the years is he just stutters too much. He doesn't hit the hole, doesn't get north and south too quickly enough. And I think that started to play into it a little bit. And honestly, the Chiefs, you look at their running game against the Buffalo Bills, and some of it was they just went east and west and they didn't get north and south.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know what you think, Dan. It's because they finally listened to you, right?
What? No, I think that this was, I was pushing for him to get more touches like that. I just think that the Chiefs needed more explosivity to their running back game. But honestly, they needed to do two things. They needed to give Isaiah Pacheco confidence, and they needed to light a fire under Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Doing that one thing does both. I know that Clyde had some rough yards still in this game. He's still missing some cutback lanes. He's missing just running through holes. But that run play they executed in the red zone was beautiful. He didn't have to do anything. And that's one of the things is that he didn't have to think too much.
I will say this really quick. I'm sorry, Ryan, but
you're good, man.
I've never thought that they've used CEH the way that he should be used.
Yeah.
Like I never thought that they used him in the passing game like they should have been using him. He was a great running back in college. He caught the ball out of the backfield well, and he just doesn't get that chance in Kansas City very often. And I think that is a big reason why fans are so upset is because his skill set that they brought him here for, they really haven't taken advantage of.
Now, I'm looking at my notes on that play in particular because two things stuck out to me. And I think this is what it comes down to is they consistently asked CEH to play in their offense.
Yeah. Yep.
When they pulled that and Trey got that hook block, Jody came around and got that forward block. It was a gaping hole. It was the thing that he used to see at LSU. That looked exactly like LSU's line. And I think that's what keys him to explode. I think there's just a volume that CH needs to see a certain kind of path in front of him for him to execute like this. I think they have to go back to more power runs. Yeah. Dan, is that what will do it?
That's what they did against the Bucs. They ran in between the tackles and they were pulling and moving people, and that was his best game of the season. So, and we've also seen consistently over the past 3 to 4 weeks the targets go down. He is a useful running back, like Chris was talking about, in the passing game, and we've seen multiple times. All of a sudden, the angle routes they're gone. They're not using them anymore. So, as much as people want to hate, again, I know Clyde was a first-round pick. None of us wanted to draft him in the first round. Okay, this was not something that I wanted the Chiefs to do. I didn't think they would do. But if you're going to, the best offensive systems and teams use players to their best ability. And like Chris was also saying, they have not consistently used Clyde to his strengths. They force him to run outside zone. They force him to do things he's not comfortable with, and it's shown multiple times. So I'd love to see some more pin pull, some more pulls, everything, just to get him more comfortable.
You know, the other thing that I take away from that draft that I hope Brett Veach is learning is it's never a luxury you can't ever use a first-round pick on a luxury. Because look at where they would be. And I'm sorry, I don't know the draft as well as you guys do. So I can't tell you who the guy that they could have gone and drafted in the first round that would have been an edge or a left tackle prospect. But those are premium positions that you need to try to take at that point in the draft if you can't trade out. And they went for a luxury pick, and I wouldn't say it's cost them. I think Clyde's been good enough at times, but it definitely isn't what you would want from a first-round pick.
It's not Jonathan Taylor. It's not that kind of effect on the offense. I agree with you.
Right.
And that said, again, even Jonathan Taylor has down years. He's still got Quentin Nelson blocking for him this year, but he's not himself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, it comes back to the positional value on that. And that's why making investment in the 7th round like Pacheco makes way more sense than a first round. And I think Brett Veach, I'm sure, has that figured out at this point. Don't worry. We'll keep reminding you, Brett. It won't be a problem. All Bono, thank you. Great question. How do you feel about Trey? I know he got beat inside once. I thought he looked okay when he was getting mobile, but clearly he is still feeling the effects of his injury. And I don't think he's near 100%, but I think he's powering through well. Chris, do you see something different?
I don't see anything different. I think he's still working on the power. And when you have a pec injury and you're an offensive lineman, that's going to be very difficult for you to be able to use your power. And that's his game. He is a power blocker, and that is his bread and butter. So that's going to be hard for him. And I think he's acquitted himself pretty well. Obviously, he's had a couple of penalties. He's, had a couple of bad plays and allowed pressure that you don't want. I get that. But you're going to expect that from a guy that's battling through injury. And I still think he's still better than Allegretti, even though I like Allegretti. I would still rather have Trey Smith in there than Allegretti. Yeah. So I think that's a good sign for Kansas City, and I think that they'll be in good shape. And you have to think that after the bye week, maybe he's going to be healthy again.
I think he's got still kind of a bit of a bum wheel too, Dan. Is that what you see as well?
Yeah, I think even before the injury, he was not progressing in the pass protection department as I would have liked to see. But again, injury stalls that, because getting more reps in the regular season, you get better at things. My biggest issue with him coming out was the weight distribution. That's still a problem because, like Chris was talking about, he is a power blocker. So a lot of times he wants to get physical and get aggressive. And that's when you see him getting beat back inside over that A gap and getting beat by some quicker moves. So I was a little disappointed with him throughout the season, but he's very clearly an excellent run blocker, mover in the open field. And when you can utilize that skill set when he gets healthy, I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, I'm optimistic that growth is still on his path ahead. Folks, make sure you hit the bit.ly/RGR Nation if you want to join the Discord. You do have to be a member here on the channels, but you can pop back and choose that if you want. There are different levels available. Holly had a good point. CMC had a great start, but then crickets. And this is what I said earlier in the week. Clearly they were going to use him, but he couldn't get into the playbook enough. They had a couple of usage things. Anybody can run outside zone. Anybody can run power inside. It's going to be fine. It's just about who's in front of you. How explosive is that tackle coming across the formation? There's a couple of things you got to do, but anybody can run that. It just clearly wasn't enough for him to get involved. If this team plays in 6 weeks, I wonder if that's not probably very different.
Yeah. I think that
go ahead.
Sorry. I was just saying, honestly, if you're down that much, use him as a receiver. He knows how to run every single route. You can get matchup problems. I don't know why they didn't at least try to do that, because he's probably with all the great pass catchers they have, he's probably your second best receiver on the team, already. So I don't know why they didn't try. Just throw him out there and see what you could do. But I mean, I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah. It's a plus. I think every Stanford Cardinal fan is just waiting for that, because I agree. He can do a lot more than he's been asked in the past. And kudos for him for getting out of Carolina alive. Andrew, thank you for the support. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you do not want to see Chris Lamons out on the field any more than he already was. And I guess I don't get it, actually, now that I think about it, because I am sitting here trying to think about why would they have Lamons on the field. You can bring in Brian Cook, you can go 3 safeties, as opposed to having your 4th corner, or really your 6th corner that doesn't ever play defense, out there guarding wide receivers.
Did you see him out there after that play, though? I didn't.
Oh, no. There was one shot.
Oh, no, I think he was out there a couple more plays.
Really?
I did not see him.
Maybe towards the end of the game. But
maybe.
True, yeah.
Yeah, in the mass quarter. But going back to the CMC thing, I think the other thing that you really need to take into consideration there is they had specific plays, like you said, for him, and then they got down and they had to go back to their playbook. And when you get to a point where you have to go back to your playbook and you have to go back to other things he's not going to know, you're not going to be able to use him. And Do I think he can be a great weapon there? Yes. The question is can he stay healthy? It's always going to be the question. I still think that they overpaid for him because I can't see he's going to be healthy there long term.
For sure.
Yeah, I hear you there. Andrew, thank you for the support. Appreciate you. Best performance of the year by the O-line. I saw improvement personally. What are your thoughts? Dan, who stood out, and do you think this is probably their most effective as a 5?
Yeah, like I said, I do think Orlando Brown kind of came back. He took a step forward then, because we've seen most of the time this year he's kind of been taking steps back and people want to brag on him. But I think this was a showing out for him, like back to normal, like what we expect from an every down or every play or every game Orlando Brown. But I also think that they just looked so good in space, guys. Like they look so good in space when they can get everyone moving. Like that 3rd and 20. The 49ers never saw that screen coming, and they had Creed down the field. They had every offensive lineman down there blocking for him. And when you can do that on a 3rd and 20, your offensive line is doing an excellent job selling the initial play and then blocking downfield. That's something that I really like to see from this team who's, in the past, maybe last year's kind of struggled with their screen game. We're seeing a rejuvenation of that this year.
I think it is dependent. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it wasn't just the O-lineman. Travis Kelce was down the field blocking.
Yeah, he was everywhere.
And the other thing that I really liked about that play is they set it up. That was a set-up play. The entire first half, they were setting up the ability to use that type of play because they had McKinnon out there, and the DN thought he was going to chip him. Didn't chip him. Wide open, and it goes for – I wasn't expecting it to go for 20 yards. I was expecting, maybe 10, 15. And they'd have to kick a field goal. But obviously, great design by Andy Reid and the offensive lineman getting out there. And Joe Thuney, after being injured all week, being able to do what he was able to do, I thought was impressive. And the other thing, I want to say this really quick. I thought it was interesting to see Allegretti in there at the very end snapping the ball, and I thought he did actually pretty well. And I know that it was very little, but I was still impressed with that.
Kudos to Andy for taking the opportunity to get your backup some work. That was great. And honestly, this goes back to what we said at the top of the show, folks. This is what should happen every week. This is what the offense is capable. This is what the defense is capable of. So this is the model going forward, especially against the best defense in the league. They outperformed my expectations completely. And on Orlando Brown in particular, I do want to say he's in my notes twice tonight, both for positive reasons. That's the first time this season. The first time this season, there are no negatives for him. So that's a positive, folks. Take that and enjoy that. Miss Holly, thank you for yours. What do you think of Sky's problem with the returns and fielding them, at least? What do you think his role will be for the rest of the season? Dan, do they have to pull him off of those returns?
Yeah, it's a little in his head. It's also just not being comfortable doing it. Both of the balls that he has muffed, they have died or he's lost them and he's been unable to get to them. That usually what you're taught, at least what I assume you're taught, is if you don't think you can get to it, get out of the way. And when he sees that ball dying, he needs to get away. And he didn't. He tried to catch it, especially after you fair caught it. You need to understand where you are in the field, not care about if you end up backed up against your own end zone. You can't muff it in that situation. You've already called for the fair catch. You can't identify it where it is. Don't touch it. And we've now seen more than one time, not even just dropping it, but he's misjudging them in the air. And that's going to lead to some real big issues. And it's already almost, cost them touchdown. They were lucky again that they blitzed and got Jimmy Garoppolo throwing it up into no one so that Joshua Williams can get that pick. So it's not always going to end up that way.
I think it's a lack of confidence at this point, Chris. Do you think they need to pull him off of the returns?
It cost him. I will say this: it cost him the game against the Colts. If he doesn't muff that punt, I think they are 6-1 at this point. I don't know if they need to call him off or not. I do agree with Dan. I think that you look at how he's playing in that position in his role. He doesn't have the instincts, and that's the problem. And Dan, you said it exactly like what I appreciate, and I appreciate exactly what you said, because it was a matter of he hasn't been in that role long enough to know this ball is dying on me. I need to get out of the way. He doesn't know that. He looks like he's lost in those situations, and you can't do that in the league and be in a good scenario. And the other thing, and this was something that we found out from Matt Derrick on the Locked On Chiefs show, he was probably the one that was probably more responsible for the interception than Mahomes was. He wasn't in the right place. He needs to get to a point where he is able to help this offense because he has a skill set that nobody else on this offense has, and that will add another dimension to this offense if they can get him going that way.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed. Folks, I know there's a ton of questions about Sky. We're addressing the topic here. I'm not going to run down everybody's question. I know there's a bunch. We'll talk about it more tomorrow, but all you super chatters, we're going to go through your questions here as we go through. So don't worry about that. But we'll discuss Sky some more tomorrow night on the Q&A, because I do think we're going to hear a little bit more about it. I don't think they're done. They have to see the film before they can do that, but I think that that's coming. Interesting concept Donnie had. Would you guys trade for Cam Jordan rather than Brian Burns? Dan, do you like that move?
No, I don't. This is, again, it's one thing with Melvin Ingram. I get you. We're not going to spend much on him anyway. I think Cam Jordan, one's going to be more expensive to trade away. And he's not one. He hasn't had a very good season. He had a good game against the Cardinals early on. I think that you saw some flashes, but he's getting older too. The thing about trading for a Brian Burns or like a Montez Sweat type of player is that they're young and they're athletic and they're fast. Cam Jordan, for everything he's been throughout his career, I give that man huge props. You don't get better as you get older when you're already on a decline. Like Robert Quinn seasons don't happen all the time like last year. They just don't happen. They're extremely rare. So investing at the position of continuing to get older when you need to get younger, it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I agree. And Julia, to answer your question, and I have some of your questions queued, by the way. The reason Dan, I, and Chris are smarter than Dave Tobe, that's not what we're saying. Sometimes you get too close to the situation and you want to let that continue to work out. A lot of coaches want to give guy enough rope to work his confidence back up and work out of that situation. We're not saying we were smarter than Dave Tobe. We're trying to say that we recognize from the outside what maybe he can't see from the inside.
But I also think that this is Kansas City trying to get him involved like they got Mecole Hardman involved. And I think that they're trying to push something that maybe just isn't going to work. To me, if you want to get his confidence up, you get him on the line, you have him run slants. And you just give him, 2 or 3 chances in the first half to go run a slant and get, 5, 6, 7 yards. That's going to build confidence. That's exactly what he needs to build confidence. I would love for him to be able to return punts, but it doesn't look like that's his in his skill set. So don't force it and get somebody else back there to return punts and try to get him involved in the offense.
Yeah, maybe not right this minute, but I'm okay with that. Give him some time. Is this performance make a difference? Thank you for the question, Cody. Does this performance make any difference in the trade scenarios on offense? I don't think that it does. Do you, Dan?
I don't think they're ever in the trade market for offensive players. I think that there's just been one guy they have been monitoring, and he is a free agent. And if he becomes available, I think they will most likely be looking to add him to this team if he's healthy. That will be.
Let me call it out. OBJ, Chris, do they sign him?
I don't think so. But I also disagree with Dan on this, to be honest with you. Before tonight's game, I think Kansas City could have been looking at offensive line and trying to figure out how they could improve their tackles. I'm not saying that I expect them to go out and get a tackle, but I think that they could have been looking at that direction. With it as bad as Orlando Brown has played at times this year, and as bad as Andrew Wiley has played at times this year, if there was any young guys that were on a team that would be cheap, Kansas City I think would have been looking at him. But I don't know after this game. Wiley still struggled, and he's going up against Nick Bosa. That's going to be a tough ask for any right tackle.
Yeah, I would say this, though. Like, I came away feeling pretty good about his performance. I don't care about the hands in the face thing. I don't give a rip at it.
Well, that wasn't really a fair penalty anyway. I mean,
no,
he was offsides.
Yeah,
I've never understood that stuff. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Just try not to hurt anybody. It gets to that level, maybe you call something. But yeah, I thought it was a little bit childish there. Holly, Frank Clark with 2 sacks, and more importantly, a safety. I haven't seen that in a long time. Who would have thought? I'll take it. I agree with you, Miss Holly, and thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Matt had to say, or Mo had to say, it's difficult to travel the West Coast and very strong D. The offense was pretty good. The defense played above average. Only frustrating part of Sky and his lack of presence. I'll tell you this too. If you go back and look at the play, his technique was he felt that he was within striking distance. And like you said, Dan, I think he did lose the tracking. He didn't move his feet. He was dragging one foot, and that's usually because you're not sure where the ball is.
Yeah.
I find if you're reading it well and you're seeing it well, you're moving your feet. I think if he gets that back underneath him, I think he's going to be fine. I'm not too worried about that. Ben, thank you. New member, new questions. Appreciate it. Why do you think Pacheco? Oh, did we already get that?
I believe so, yeah.
Well, thank you, and I
appreciate it, Ben.
Chris Jones was a terror in this game. Mahomes had his best game of the season. He has to be an offensive player of the week, right? Do you think that he gets that, Chris?
I can't.
Did you see Joe Burrow? Did you guys see Joe Burrow?
That's the thing. Like, I don't know the stats from everybody else. That's my problem. I know he played really well in this game, but did somebody go throw for 4 or 5 touchdowns? I haven't looked at the rest of the games to know how those have turned out, and they still have 2 more games this week. So
I'm checking right now. I think Joe threw 5 today, and he ran.
I think he threw 3 and ran 1.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay,
I think so. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 481 for Joe for 3 TDs and a running touchdown. You were correct. So yeah, I think Joe Burrow is winning AFC Offensive Player of the Week this week.
It's a little tighter than I thought it was, though. I thought it was 5. So hey, Bill, we'll tell you tomorrow. How's that? Or we'll tell you Tuesday.
He's got a good shot.
Thanks for the support. Gary, Ryan, what trade do you see the Chiefs doing? If it is a trade, it's got to be a premier position. It's either tackle, edge, or corner. Only way to do it. I thought Josh Williams was up and down today. He had a couple of nice plays. Obviously, that pick. He had a couple that he got beat up on. But I think he and Jalen had a couple of mistakes as well. But I do think they both showed that as a rookie level and being the lower picked guys, it's not like we're talking about McDuffie, a top round pick. I think they've shown enough that the organization is going to be comfortable with them. I don't think they're going to go out and get a corner. No. So it really does come down to a pass rusher or a pass catcher. And I don't know. I don't buy the, hey, we're going to turn down 2 firsts for Brian Burns. That's stupid if you're Scott Fitterer. Take that trade any day of the week. I hope the Chiefs don't offer that. But I'm saying I think that's a smokescreen. I think there's ongoing stuff. We're going to see something before Tuesday.
The one thing I saw on that was the thought is that it was the Rams who were offering a 2024 and 2025 first-round pick.
Gotcha.
So that's a little different, and I wouldn't take it probably either. I do think that, frankly, I do think that Kansas City could be in the market for Brian Burns. ESPN is reporting that Kansas City's reached out to Carolina about Brian Burns. So we'll see whether or not they actually make a move. I'd love to see them make a move. And I will say this. If you bring Brian Burns into this defense and you add him to Karlaftis and Clark and Dunlop and Dana, I think you're going to be in a good scenario, and you're going to have a lot of ability to mix and match guys and get pass rush. And you have Burns and Karlaftis for at least 2 years because Burns is under contract in 2023 as well. And yeah, it's expensive, but you can extend them after this year. And then you have a speed guy and you have a power guy. I think you'd be in good shape.
If you guys would like to see more on that, you can go watch every stream Dan and I did in March.
Every one.
Because that's the thing, is having power rush in unison with a speed rush gives you those things that you can attack every team's weakness. By only having power rushers on the edge, you can only attack one way. And that's why Frank tonight, being that nimble, I tweeted at the time, is specifically because he came in lighter. I am convinced of that. Do you guys see anything else?
Man, Spags and Cullen are starting to get fun. There were multiple times where they essentially had 4 defensive ends on the front. It was Karlaftis as your
inside
nose,
or
whatever. And then they had both, that one with the very first sack. It was Frank and Dunlap, and they were legit right next to each other. Just right next to each other. Karlaftis at the nose, Chris Jones on the left. Guess what? Chris Jones, animal. And then you got 2 defensive ends rearing down the right side. That's going to force quarterbacks to move to Chris Jones. Like this, they're starting to understand things. Again, if we talk about adding a speed rusher to what they're doing with the defensive line on some of these pure pass rushing situations, it could get dangerous for some quarterbacks out there.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Sorry, it'll be a lot of fun. I mentioned that specifically, Dan, on Locked On Chiefs. I really like that setup. I think it's a great setup for this team. And I was really disappointed when it looked like Dunlop got hurt, but I'm glad he was able to come back. Yeah. So obviously no injuries. And I think that could be, that type of front and being able to get those guys going. I know some people are disappointed because Karlaftis hasn't had a huge season yet so far, or a huge impact in a game. He's still working. He's always around the QB. He's always getting after it. His motor's never stopping. He's doing what he needs to be doing. He's learning his craft. And I do think that in the second half of the season, some of the sacks will start coming.
He's contributing to a much smaller pocket for people to pass from. So
Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to help. We talked a lot about Hardman earlier, Oscar. Glad you made it, but go back and watch that a little bit. I just want to mention Juju because Juju ran tonight. His yak tonight is what I've envisioned to this point.
Can I just talk about Patrick Mahomes and the back shoulder throws comfortable he's getting with Juju Smith-Schuster? They're finding one-on-one situations with Juju, and he is intentionally every single time throwing it either at that cornerback's back or behind him, because Juju is exactly what we've thought. He's very good at finding spots in zone, but he's also really good at adjusting to the ball in the air. He's protecting the ball in the air. He's going after attacking it with corners turned. This is what I've always wanted Mahomes to do more of. Throw at singled up man coverage players at the back shoulder. Let your receivers adjust to it. And right now, Juju is becoming a safety blanket for Patrick Mahomes, just like, I won't say just like, because it's a different type of player than Travis Kelce, but he is earning a lot of trust from Patrick right now, and that's huge for this offense.
Well, and Patrick did that to MVS too in this game. There's a back shoulder throw to,
and he dropped it. It just
no,
right into his lap.
No, he caught the one I was talking about.
Yeah, it dropped in his lap.
Well, yeah, okay, you're right, but it counted as a catch.
Yeah,
and my
exactly.
point is he's starting to trust him. Yep. And after last week when MVS had that interception, and they were talking about it pregame, MVS is 6'4". You're going up against corners that are less than 6 foot. There's no reason that either of those guys should have had a chance of coming down with that ball last week.
Yeah,
got to do that. Got to take care of your QB.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it all revolves around. And Julia, thanks for the shark sighting. I like that. I always forget to call him that. I don't know why I have a mental block on that, but hey, it is what it is. Want to go back to this? What about trading Rojo? I don't think he can contribute to this roster. I don't know that there's anything that anybody's going to want him specifically. But if you're talking a package of picks and you're like, hey, and we'll throw in a running back with experience, like I'm fine with that. Do you guys see any reason not to?
No, but again, like this goes back to the Clyde stuff. Like, does he really have any value? No, because he's not playing. I understand he has experience, but he's not playing on a team, if we're being honest, that has struggled to find a consistent running back threat, and they don't want to use him. I don't know why he's on the roster. It doesn't make any sense. Honestly, he should just be cut. They're not using him. I just don't understand it. I just don't.
I know you guys are just doing the super likes, the questions from the super likes, but I saw a question I have to answer. Yes, I would trade 2 first-round picks for DJ Moore and Brian Burns.
I have it queued up. I'm getting to it.
I'm sorry. I didn't see you had that queued up.
Yeah, I
saw that question. My bad. I saw that question. I was like, oh, God. Yeah, I think I would make that trade.
Chris is jumping my list here, people. And no, we're not doing just super chats tonight, I promise. We're just trying to cover all the topics here together with one thing on screen. So I'm getting to it. We will get to you as well. I just want to shout out a couple people. Tactics, hope you're doing well. Thanks for the support. Do they not teach people to tuck their chin when they fall on their back? That's how Tua could have stopped his first concussion. Well, and you saw Patrick's head whip as well. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can teach that, but in the moment, the velocity these guys are getting hit at, yeah, I mean, there's just so much you can do. Those muscles, you guys ever go like skiing or snowboarding? It's the same thing. You take a good fall, you wake up the next day and your neck muscles are like, oh, we can't deal with this anymore.
For sure.
It's an uncomfortable feeling. But I read you, Tactics. I think you're on top of it. And a great question here, and appreciate another support from you. Best defense or better defense, sorry. The 2019 Niners they faced in the Super Bowl or the 2020 Bucs in the Super Bowl? Because I'll take Tampa Bay myself.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Chris?
I'd agree.
Yeah, okay. Ooh, unanimous. I love it when we do that. Thanks, Tactics. Demetrius, hope you're doing good, buddy. Who's the starting running back from now on, and how was Mecole's game? I don't care who the starting running back is. I just don't care.
No, don't care. Not anymore.
Honestly, to me, it should be matchup based.
Yeah. Okay.
What can they do? I mean, how can they attack whoever they're going to be playing? And Pacheco is a guy that's going to get north and south ends, hit the hole hard, and that's how he's going to run. If you have the ability to use McKinnon and get him out in space against some of the matchups against the defense, use him. Clyde is a different animal, and I think you just have to pick whoever is going to be the guy that's going to be most successful that night. Andy Reid has been so good at always putting the right players in the right position. That's what's been so frustrating to me watching what he has done with Clyde.
Yeah.
I can get behind that. I can get down with that. Tactics. Oh, you got another one? 49ers revenge. More like week 2 in 18. Okay. I like it. Thanks, Tactics. Metal Rocker, glad you're back. What do you guys think lit the fire under the offense and the defense this game? Because I'm still stunned as to what just happened. I mean, did professional pride pack in here, or was this the staff coming down on this roster?
I'll let Chris go first.
Honestly, I think the offense just started to execute. I think that they've been missing on certain plays just by a hair the past couple of weeks, and I think that they finally just started to execute. And even the big play to MVS down the field in the second half. To be fair, Mahomes underthrew him. If he puts it out over his shoulder, and that's probably a touchdown by MVS. So they're still not on the same page completely. I think they're getting better. But I do think that this offense is just going to continue to get better. You start seeing guys like Juju and exactly what you talked about, Dan, the back shoulder throws, things that he hasn't done. Mahomes hasn't done so far in his career because he's had guys that have been so wide open. He hasn't had to. But in this scenario, if they start doing those things, it's going to make that offense very hard to defend. And defensively, I think that they're just starting to get healthy and get guys understanding what they're trying to do on defense. Because you have to remember, Cullen is new, so I do think that there are some games up front that are a little bit new to some of the players.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Demetrius, I didn't mean to stop you there talking about the starting running back. I don't think it matters, but we'll see what happens. But Mecole's game, this was what we had expected from Mecole. I thought this is the best I've seen him run the jet sweep, to tell you the truth. I thought he read his blocks well. I thought he put down some physicality when he had to. He's not an overly physical guy, but when he can run through contact, I think that's the best Mecole you're going to get.
This is exactly what I thought. Like, I thought this was going to be exactly how he was going to be used in an offense devoid of Tyreek Hill. It makes too much sense. You can attack the middle of the field with the guys you have, stretch them horizontally, stretch them vertically. They can do that. And now that he's healthy, he looks exactly like the player and the usage I thought he'd be getting from the start.
I'm with you. Let's see. Trying to make sure that I missed HD Dreamin'. Dreamin', I will try to find you lower down here, but he said, can we stop panicking now? Look at San Francisco trading away their future. Thanks, guys. You're awesome. And thank you for the support as a $20 super chat from Dreamin'. I appreciate you, buddy. Sorry I missed that earlier. But after the performance, has anything changed for you guys about any acquisition of any kind?
No, it's just defensive end if they can get one for me. Like, that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah, I'm still on defensive end. I think that I could have argued for left tackle at times this season, or another young tackle for the right side. But it's got to be a premier position to me because they're going to have to pay a premium to get the player.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going back here. How did I miss that last one? From KL368. Thank you. Feelings about the rookies, the rookie corners after this ball game. That's the super chat I missed as well. Sorry about that, KL. I came away with feeling like they're working through. Mm-hmm. I didn't see anything that has me down on either of them. Do either of you guys? Like Watson for you, Dan?
This was a game where you saw the obvious issues in their game and why they were later draft picks, but you also saw the potential, like you talked about earlier. Like there's a play, obviously the getting singled up with George Kittle one-on-one. It's not your fault, okay? But if that's not George Kittle, he breaks up that pass. That's right. What you have to take away from that. It wasn't his fault he was in that position, but guess what? He stuck with him. He played the ball, and if it's not George Kittle, he probably makes a PBU. So I was okay with it.
I can get down with that. What about Josh Williams, Chris?
I liked what I saw from Josh Williams. I've liked what I've seen from him so far this season. He competes. He's always a guy that's going after the ball carrier, going after the ball and trying to compete to the best of his ability. I think that he just needs more time.
Mhm.
You and I have talked about this on Locked On Chiefs a lot, Ryan. He is a guy that's coming from a very small school. It is a huge jump to NFL competition. Huge.
That's putting it really
So,
nicely.
yeah, him coming in and playing the way he's playing, I think, is a testament to how good of a player he can be. And I do think that as long as he is able to stay confident, if he gets in there and he gets beat a couple of times, I think that he could be a good player for them in a couple of years, and may end up being able to be a guy that contribute towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree. Like as far as I'm concerned, on day 3, 2 corners it should be applicable every single season, every year. Just keep taking them. There we go. Chris, thank you for the support.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, no, I wanted to spend top 100s on DNs. Is the reason I say it that way.
Okay, fair enough.
Great win, no injuries. Can't ask anything better than to get going into the bye.
Exactly.
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate your support. We agree 100%. And Scotty took it upon himself, thanks for the super chat, to light up the Hi Chris button. You guys can hit that with the super chat and make sure that Chris is welcome. Chris hasn't been on the show that much, but hey, you've seen him before. You know where he's at. Sean, so basically, if you go into the Chiefs with the top defense and jump out to a double-digit lead, the Chiefs have already beaten you. Yes, that's pretty much the way that it goes.
It's exactly where they want you.
Sean.
It's exactly where they want you.
Yes, you're right. Exactly where we want you. That's perfect. Still crazy what you said. This ought to be normative for the guys going on. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the ball game this season, at least for this 53-man roster that you go back to. Remember what we did against the Bucs, and we were physical. Remember how we played our game a little bit more, and we won in San Francisco. This is what they're going to point back to. This should be what they're trying to get to every game. Rodier, hope you're doing well. Great show. Never miss an episode. Do you think that the Chiefs re-sign Chris Jones or trade him for picks?
You guys,
I wasn't going to get into this tonight, but okay.
You guys, Chris Jones is the best. Don't mince words. He's right now the best defensive tackle in the NFL. Aaron Donald is great. And I love me some Aaron Donald. Chris Jones is playing better than he is this year. And that's saying a lot. It's saying a lot. And he's been unblockable. He has been the obvious guy who wins quickly, who gets doubled. He's been moving around, playing defensive end, playing defensive tackle. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Chris Jones needs to retire. Set up a retirement home in Kansas City. Don't let that man leave.
Chris, does it matter the scale of the contract? Or you re-sign Chris no matter what?
Well, I will say this. I don't think that there's any way he plays in 2023 in Kansas City under the current contract. Just going to throw that out there now. If it was up to me, I would try to sign him before the trade deadline and go use any of the money that you can free up to try to go get somebody. That's what I would try to do.
Yep.
I don't think that Kansas City, and I will say this though, too, the buy almost works in Kansas City's favor to be able to get something like that done. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, the trade deadline is November 1st. Yep. Right now, they're going to be on buy all next week. So, we'll see whether or not they make a move. I would love to see them extend Chris Jones so the cap number isn't so horrible next year. But we'll see.
I like what you're laying down there, Chris. I like it.
Yeah, I'm digging it. To quote Justin here, LFG, man. LFG. Just got here. Welcome, Justin.
Can I ask you a quick question? What did you guys think about Harrison Butker's missed field goal?
Something wonky happened there. It was like one of those
just the wind?
I didn't think I saw much wind myself. I think he just may have thought there was wind, and it kind of course corrected it. Because that was one of those loopers it looked like he was trying to account for the wind, and it didn't end up happening. So maybe he felt a gust, thought it would happen, and then it didn't.
Can we just kick him down the middle? Can we just do that? Isn't that freaking hard?
Can we go for it on 3rd and 7 when you have like 16 seconds left? I don't know.
It was 11, but yeah.
Or whatever. Either way.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. I'll shut up now. Give him some of those jet sweeps on 2nd at medium. Avery, I like the way you think. It is those like 6-yard kind of to-goes that I love the jet sweep because everybody's got a guard pass and run. That's where I like to use it. What do you think, Dan?
They were setting those up all the beginning of the game. They were like, Mecole, you're going to run some wind sprints for a little bit. Don't worry. It's gonna pay off. You're going to get in the end zone. And it did. You saw both pass rushers get upfield. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, Mecole was basically doing a Tyreek Hill from his time in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill ran miles while he was in
many
Kansas City.
miles.
Yeah.
That's what Mecole was doing in this game. And
It's
that's what he
awesome.
usually does.
Yeah, that Fitbit, it's got to be on overload. That's all I'm saying. Justin, thank you for the support as well. Hardman gets my vote as finally legit. As a weapon or a wide receiver? Because again, it was not downfield.
Yeah, this is
that's where my caveat would be.
The legit usage. How about that? Legit usage from the coaching staff. That's what we're seeing right now.
Correct usage, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm down. Yeah. But you can see it from here, Justin. You can see it from here. By doing that, I think that's going to give them a little bit more. The next time they motion him across the formation and they don't give it to him, I think he's going to have a route or two that he can turn up. Maybe a dig, maybe something that he can come off of that motion that he's going to be more valuable now in the pass game.
Please run that to the long side of the field, not the short.
Yes, for the love of God, I know.
Just don't do that. I can't stand every time I see a motion to the short side.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that.
What are we doing?
I'm glad I'm not the only one that gets pissed off when he sees that.
From a defensive standpoint, you guys can hear Vass talk about all the time. When teams run that at my defense, I love it because they're already hurting themselves. It's just the way that it goes. Rev, thank you for the support. Cozy Coleman for permanent return man. Cozy, huh? I like that one. I don't know if Corey's ready for that. Do you think that they should bring him up and give it a shot? Is it worth a roster spot?
Not my opinion. I get what they're trying to do. I get why, but I think you try to find somebody else. Give it to Mecole Hardman again if you don't think that Sky Moore can do it. And the reality is Mecole Hardman isn't getting the wide receiver snaps that we thought he could get this year because of the other guys that are here. So use him on special teams.
Yeah, I can't disagree. Do you have anything, Dan?
I would, like I said, since you have a roster spot open because Rojo shouldn't be on the roster, I would just cut him and then maybe either Coleman or Smith Marset. I know he's been pretty bad, but the best thing he was good at before he started to drop everything and fumble everything away was punt returns and kick returns. So maybe you look into that during the bye, see if you can get him up to speed a little bit.
The big problem with that is I think that Blake Bell's coming back after the bye as well. And I think that's probably where that roster spot's going.
That's fine. Either way.
I'm not even going there. Julia, this is my favorite question of yours tonight. Thoughts on Saunders. Now, if you guys saw 2 seasons ago when I was giggling like a schoolgirl on the film room of him playing linebacker.
So good. So good.
You'll understand how happy I was tonight. He chased Kittle down to the boundary tonight while dropping into his zone and looked good doing it. Like a guy that's 40 pounds
that's a big
lighter,
dude.
right? I know, but this is what drove me nuts about Spags. Saunders looked great doing it. I thought this is the best we've seen. This is what I hope to see from him last year so he could get a contract and stay. He may get a contract to stay, but it's going to be a lot smaller because it's just a little bit too late. But the problem is Spags took what Colin does and then asked Noddy to do it. And you get in a rut too much. And Saunders is an athlete. Noddy is a defensive lineman. That's the difference.
Frank Clark, Kevin Carey, Jeff Wilson up the sideline, up the seam. What do we? I get it. I understand you're trying to be creative. They could spot that a mile away, okay? And it should have been a touchdown.
They might have smelled that coming.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. I'm glad we're all on the same page. Colin Saunders, great athlete, and he may get himself back in to Chiefs camp next year, Julie, because of what he's done this season. And Justin, thank you for that. If you guys would hit the like, that always helps us. If you're new to us, we hit about 850 in here tonight. We're a little bit less than that now, but a lot of you guys have to be new. Make sure you click the sub so you get with us on the regular because we got a lot going on around here. Rob, good question. Would you take Moore and Burns for 2 first-round picks? I'd do it in a heartbeat. If they did it, then there's more wrong in Carolina than I thought.
I'd be questioning if it was 3. Like if you're saying give me 3 first-round picks for these 2, I would probably even do it then. We're talking about I think that if you're asking 2 for Brian Burns, I'm considering it. So if you're asking me 2 for Moore and Burns, I'm not even questioning it at all. I'm doing it immediately. So I would think about it for more. I think that much of DJ Moore and Brian Burns as the athletes, but we know it's not going to happen.
I know Chris can see the dollar signs from here. You wouldn't do that, would you?
Oh, I would.
Would you? Okay, cool.
In a heartbeat.
Contracts.
Yeah, no, I can't see the dollar signs, but the problem is both those guys are top tier players, and to me, you put yourself right in the conversation of being the Super Bowl favorite if you go get those two guys.
Yeah.
I mean, DJ Moore.
I'm just saying.
I still think DJ Moore is going to be a much better player than Odell Beckham this season could be for Kansas City. And Brian Burns is going to be a guy that could be here for several years and contribute, and maybe for the long term.
Well, that's the thing is both of them can be long term depending on the contract size.
Yep.
Dontre, thank you for the support. Do you think the Chiefs could beat the Bills if the same mistakes they made against the 49ers today? The difference for me was not the mistakes. It was the fact that they rallied. They protected better. They ran better on a per rush aspect. I think the offense overall was better. If they'd played this game, I think they would have eked one out against the Bills last time.
Yeah, I do too.
Chris, you see anything else?
I was just going to say, I think the wide receivers played better tonight than they played against the Bills.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what stuck out to me is that when you get 3 or 4 guys going, it's going to be very hard. And don't take anything away from a guy like Justin Watson who comes in and catches a touchdown pass.
Yep.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
You know, obviously it's not getting 4 or 5 or 6 targets and bringing defenses to him. But if he can go in and do that, and even if it's, just a 3 or 4 yard pass, it doesn't matter. If you can get guys like that to contribute and give you touchdowns and play in situations like that, that's all you need.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Like I said last week, folks, I still believe this. This Chiefs team and this Bills team play 10 times. I think it's 5-5. I don't think it's that big a difference. It depends on the day.
Okay, timeout. I will say this. I disagree with you.
Yeah.
Only because if you put Kansas City with Willie Gay and Trent McDuffie and Rashad Fenton, I think they win more than 5 out of 5.
I can't say that until I see it. The fact that those guys weren't there for that piece of competition, I want to agree with you, but I'm not there yet.
I get it. I'm just saying, I think that those 3 pieces on the defense would have swung it enough to make it more than 5 out of 5.
Fair enough. Mo, another good question. Like, performance aside, do you think the chemistry is improving with the 2 receivers in Mahomes?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's what we're seeing is they're feeling it out on the field. And specifically with Juju, you're seeing he's understanding what he's good at. Again, finding spots in zones and throwing back shoulders against man coverage because he's not going to separate against man. So what do? You allow him to do what he does best, adjust to the football. And he's really doing that. MBS is still MBS, in my opinion. Like, he's going to have a couple of those. Like, you look at the Indianapolis game where he should have had a walk-in touchdown. And then you look at this where it also should have been a walk-in touchdown. He's going to have a couple of those this season, and that's fine. At the end of the day, he's got some inconsistency in his game, and that's okay. Utilize him in his best ways. Again, 4 targets in this game, over 100 yards. Beautiful. Perfect. That's all you need from him.
Was this Orlando Browns' best game of the year, and is it progress or just one game, Chris?
I think it's his best game, mainly because of the guys he was going against. I think that Nick Bosa is a fantastic defensive edge, and I know he went against Wiley a lot, but the 49ers still have a very good defensive line, and I think Brown acquitted himself very well.
Yeah.
And he's moving better.
Yeah. Agreed with that. At least tonight he was. And I will tell you, folks, Drake Jackson's going to be something in this league. So that's a positive sign as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Keith, trade preference. Oh, this is a good one. So if it's just up to you, Dan, you're pulling the trigger. Josh Allen, Jacksonville, or Payne from Washington?
So I'm taking Josh Allen. And again, this goes back to what this defense is predicated upon. They have the guys at defensive tackle that they want. And I think Payne's a really good player. You have Chris Jones. You don't have the guy at defensive end. I know a lot of people want George Karlaftis to be. Maybe he will be. But right now you need speed to help funnel. That's what this is all about. You're trying to funnel to the guys that win later in Karlaftis and Clark to an extent. and all those power guys. That's what you're trying to do. Josh Allen off the edge offers more of the speed to push quarterbacks to the guys that don't win as quickly.
Really quick, what if that was Sweat instead of Payne from Washington?
Then I'm going to take Sweat because it's going to be cheaper.
He is. Although his 1 year of production is, or this level of production, it has to be a little bit less enthusiastic. But again, that leads to a cheaper contract. And he can play himself into his third contract, and I'll be happy to let him walk. Thanks. I'll take the comp pick. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate you. Thank you, Miss Holly. No question, but a shout out to RGR community for providing debriefs after the games. Good for the mental health, win or lose. Thank you. We try to do that. Try to show you what we see, what we know, and then figure out what questions we have to go have answered. So thank you, Holly. We appreciate you. Justin, thank you. Want the Chiefs records. I want Chiefs records set today. Mahomes, Mecole, Reed, Kelsey. What a time to be a Chiefs fan. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Records are fun. I'm really interested to see how Travis progresses. I think it was very clear from the broadcast, just the kind of reverence that guys that are as good as Greg Olsen have for him. Mm-hmm. Greg Olsen said he's going to be the best ever. Like, that's still a couple of really good seasons of yardage away from being true.
It is, but look what they're doing. They're already preparing for it. They're taking him out in spots. He's running less routes. He's running less snaps, and he's still having the nearly 100 yards game every game, and then the 4 touchdown game. So I think that they're preparing for it.
The other thing that I think that is really funny that Greg Olsen pointed out was Travis Kelce runs routes like no other tight end in football. And the ability of Mahomes and Kelsey to be on the same page because Kelsey's not running the actual route as it's designed.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I will say that too. That made me chuckle out loud during the broadcast. Patrick, I understand Orlando may not be great, but is there another left tackle rookie or vet worth more than he gives the team? The line together for 3 or 4 years seems most important. That's the big question. I haven't been impressed with this rookie class to this point. I'm really not impressed with the next class. So I don't know. But
it's hard to know.
It is. If he can build on this and not have more episodes like he had against the Bills, Von Miller's tough on anybody. Let's not sugarcoat this. Von Miller still has it. Does he have it every week? No, but he saves it for the Chiefs. He wants you to remember Derek Thomas and him together looking like the same dude.
I agree with that, but I also will say it wasn't just Von Miller. I mean, he struggled at other times this season, so it wasn't just Von Miller being Von Miller and doing Von Miller things. He was struggling, but he's also, we've heard rumors that he's injured. He's got a knee injury that isn't on the injury reports, and if that's accurate, then it kind of makes sense why he's not moving as well as you would hope that he could. He's never going to be a guy that's going to be great against speed, I don't think, unless he drops a lot more weight, which doesn't seem to be probably going to happen.
Right, and takes away from his game to begin with.
And power. Yep.
Bill, thank you. Glad you're enjoying it. And it is a great win. I'm glad to see that. Croc has been absolutely absent in my my text messages tonight, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. We recorded Monday's NFL draft show early, so there's no hangover there, but I'll get him tomorrow. Don't you guys worry. Sticks, thoughts on Gay being back in the linebackers as a whole? I felt like it was visibly different how well they were able to get to the sidelines, whether it was those hot routes that kept getting dumped out or when they tried to run outside. Like, just Willie's presence, he missed a couple of tackles. Mm-hmm. He did his thing, but I felt as a unit they looked better to me. Chris, did you see something different?
His closing speed is stupid.
I know, right?
Just him coming off the edge on a blitz was just, it's great to be able to see that speed. And I understand that it's not something he's going to do very often, but to see them blitz him and use that, I thought that was great. And I love this question.
Oh, I didn't even get to it. I was letting Dan answer, but dang.
Sorry, my bad.
I know Dan likes Willie Gay's coming downhill too, so that's fine.
Oh, man. I love what they do on the sidelines. The middle of the field stuff still bothers me. But again, that's a 49ers team that stretches you as a linebacker. It's hard. It's hard to really see what's coming, especially when they're running and throwing as quickly as they can, especially when they come out hot like that. So I give them a pass to that extent. The missed tackles have to – they got to come around, Willie. I love you, man, but –
yeah.
Like, it feels like this is half time. You got flailing hands, man.
I'm going to get there. I swear. Oh, Rain and Tacos. I like that one. Thanks for the support, buddy. With only Sky and MVS under contract next year, which wide receivers do you re-sign after watching the offense tonight? I have to have Juju right now. I like what he brings. I got to have somebody that can be a true X. A true Z. I don't see one on this roster right now. Everybody's got a role, but I don't see a guy that can do it all out of the Z and be the piece that you move around, even Juju. So I got to have the pieces so they can go draft somebody to be that, or they can go sign somebody to be that. I think that would make this passing offense complete, Dan. Is that enough?
So I don't think that even bringing guys back should stop them from drafting receivers. You should just always add bodies. And I'm not putting anything in the Justin Ross bucket. I won't count on that being anything at all.
Okay.
Yep. Honestly, if the usage continues right now, and we're seeing the offense as multiple as it is, I'm bringing them all back.
Yeah,
I'm bringing Mecole back. I'm bringing MVS back. I'm bringing Juju, and I'm running it back, and then probably not Justin Watson, because I think you can get a guy that brings what he does in the draft. So I'm looking at those 4 guys as the core. And again, it's about how they make the offense multiple, because you don't necessarily always need to have the one guy that everyone focuses on, like Tyreek Hill. I think that's Travis Kelce. And then all the receivers, you can just say, do what you do best. Use Mecole this way. Use MVS this way. Use Juju this way. Use Sky this way. I think that might be the best way to continue to have the offense be as multiple as possible. But again, if you hit on a draft pick, that becomes different.
Yeah, it can be the cherry on top. I'm with it.
Mm-hmm.
Would you sign Mecole back specifically, Chris?
No.
Okay.
And the reason being is I think he's going to get a contract that's going to be way more expensive than what he's going to deserve.
And that's the wrench that that's the wrench. Like, if it happens, it happens, then okay, I understand.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, don't count out the hometown Falcons.
Well, and I will say, I'm also going to say this because of the way this question was worded. If MVS doesn't have more of these games this season, he may not be back in 2022, 2023.
True.
That contract is a 3-year deal, but it doesn't mean he's going to be back next year.
Yeah, there is walk-away potential in this contract for him.
Yep, but I would definitely bring Juju back, and I actually kind of disagree with Dan as well. I've seen enough from Justin Watson. I would think I would try to bring him back and let him compete against whoever you bring in.
Fair enough.
I don't think he's going to break the bank.
I won't. I just don't necessarily care, I guess.
No, I get it.
But then you have him for insurance. And if you can draft somebody and he beats him, great. No big deal.
But the thing that he brings that I haven't seen Kansas City have consistently is he is a 5th wide receiver option that Kansas City hasn't had over the past several seasons.
Let me ask you guys
I wouldn't want to get rid of that.
Can Watson do what MVS does?
In a heartbeat, I believe he can.
Chris?
I think he is a replacement level player, like in that regard.
Possibly.
Because I see enough similarities with the over-the-top over routes that I really need him to do, and the straight line speed. I wonder if that is no one-for-one replacement eventually.
Yeah, especially if they keep seeing it. They keep using it that way. Yeah.
He's just got to run more than 3 routes. I'm just saying.
Okay?
Please. Justin, thank you again. KC just won the 2nd Super Bowl this season. Laugh out loud. Tampa Bay and San Francisco. Yeah, hey, it's a revenge tour, or at least a mini one. So, hey, roll with it. I mean, the Tampa Bay Bucks are a shadow of them former selves. I mean,
Chiefs sent them rolling.
I don't know, man. Maybe Gronk really was the secret to that team because there ain't nothing left.
It's the offensive line, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, Jensen.
That offensive line's toast.
Well, Brady needs protection, and they don't have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean
that's what it comes down to. Terry, I think you're joking, but I'll ask the guys anyway. Will Clark get PED tested after this game? He did look very spry.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, there's a guy with an NFL name tag waiting for him, right?
He turned the clock back.
Right?
On that get off. That's the fastest I've ever seen him look in a Chiefs uniform, period. It was
that's
fastest.
safety. Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was great.
Gary, this is a great question. I'm glad Chris is here because he can probably answer it better than me. But I will tell you this. I think Butker is a gamer. I think he has to be pushed. I think he does his best when he is challenged by either wind or conditions or the length of the kick. Chris, you are the special teams guru on this chat right now. What do you think?
God. Sorry about that. No, I do think that you're probably right there. I think that when you get him in there in games, he sees a bigger challenge of going for a longer kick once that opportunity to do longer kicks and do things like that. So I agree with you. But if he's kicking and he's making 90% of the field goals, I don't think you're going to really have to complain about it too much.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I mean, if he's as long as he's making 90%, I mean, the big thing is it seems like in pressure times he comes up big. So I guess I really don't worry about it near as much.
I'm kind of that way too. And don't worry, Dan, we can still hear you. I can.
Yeah, I know. I'm figuring this out real quick.
All right, no worries. If you want to leave and reroad, it'll work. I'm pretty sure, just so you know. Gary, thank you for the question. I appreciate you, dude. Gary Holland has been here since day one on RGR, folks. Give him a hand. He's old school around here. Justin, thank you. Appreciate it. If you guys would hit that like and hit the sub if you're not a sub already, get in here. Justin, Amono signs for the NFL now. See, he's from the Chiefs. Yeah, I mean, if you can put a complete game like this together, there are teams that should be very, very nervous. And the Buffalo Bills have to be doing like, whoo, they just weren't on with us. If we had this, I don't know.
So let's talk about this real quick. Titans, Jaguars, Chargers, Rams, Bengals, Broncos, Texans, Seahawks, Broncos, Raiders. That's the rest of their schedule. That looked a lot harder when the season started than it looks right now.
Bengals are on fire right now. I'm just saying.
The Bengals are on fire right now, but the Rams don't look near as hard. The Chargers aren't playing well. Broncos, Texans, Jaguars, Raiders, Broncos twice.
Right.
I think that they're going to be in great position for the playoffs at this point. I'm not saying that they're going to win out. I'm just saying this schedule has gotten a lot better than I was expecting it to be.
I completely agree with you. Daniel, thank you to the NFL official Twitter jinx the Niners with their is this the best defense tweet or best offense tweet? Sorry. And there's Dan's there he is. There we go.
I don't know what's going on with my camera, but it just gave me the biggest black edge ever.
Oh, I like it. It'll work for now. Not a big deal. Here, we'll just do this. I'll go to this one. Or no, I like this one better. And then we can just do this. Now we're all the same size.
I don't know what happened, man.
Not a big deal, man. I'll get us back where we were and we'll look fairly normal, sort of, maybe. Okay. So yeah, I mean, is this the best offense? Yeah. There's a lot of jinx that I think players pay more attention to social media than I think they do, is what I've learned over the last couple of seasons. And that's not just Juju on TikTok and that kind of stuff, but like they do pay attention. My name is Vale. Thank you for appreciate the support. I didn't see a question, but if you have one, answer it here or ask it here, because we're gonna wrap up with our last several questions and then we'll get into it. And for all of you that want to be in the Discord, it's our private community for RGR members that you can get into just by joining the memberships and going to bit.ly/RGR Nation. You got to connect your YouTube once you're in the Discord so that your Discord account talks to your YouTube account. And then you should be good to go. Just join the memberships and you'll be on fire. We're going to wrap this up because my battery light just came on. Woo, or maybe I should take care of that. So take this from info, would you, Dan?
What up, info? Thoughts on trading for J.J. Watt could be a cheap rental. So this is going to go back to my big thing about trading for older players. I'm just not really interested for the most part, especially guys who aren't going to be predominantly speed rushers and who's really plays more of a defensive tackle role now than he plays defensive end. He plays more on the inside than he plays on the outside. And that's not really what the Chiefs need. So I'm kind of out on that one. What about you, Chris?
I wouldn't do that. I just don't. I don't see the value there for Kansas City, and it may be a cheap rental for a draft pick, but I think he's still got a big contract.
I think so too. I don't really. I haven't actually seen it, but
I can't imagine that J.J. Watt's going to be cheap contract wise.
No, especially not considering, the getting over there in the first place. So thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. Chris, Stone Cold, and Frank the Shark balled out. They did. Those two guys had their hands all over this game. And it was nice seeing, Frank Clark turn the time back a little bit, but also give a hat tip to Carlos Dunlap, who showed up in this game multiple times, getting some pressure. I love to see that. Anybody else stand out on the pressure side for you?
No, I will say I did look it up. JJ Watt's contract is like 11.3 for the year for base salary. So yeah, no pass. Just gonna throw that out there. Oh God, hello.
Hey,
That was kind of scary.
yeah,
I'm back.
Did you miss me? Oh man. Okay, let's see here. What do we got? We got Miss Holly. Thank you. Brady should have quit. That's a fair point. I cannot argue with that.
Before he gets divorced, because it sounds like that's coming too.
Rut-row. Wow, we're not dragging that in here. Good Lord, that cat needs to meow somewhere else. Avery, Marcus Spears on Travis Kelce. He has to be in the offensive player of the year conversation.
Yeah. Yep. There's no question, Avery.
I don't see how he's not. I mean, if somebody tells you he's not, they're wrong. That's just crazy. Can he win it is my question, though.
No, he can't. And specifically, I think because you're going to have receivers like what Stephon Diggs is doing this year, specifically. Also, whichever quarterback doesn't win MVP might just end up winning Offensive Player of the Year.
You never know. You never know. I don't know. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Let's see.
He would have to be closer to 2,000 yards and have 15 to 20 touchdowns.
I agree.
Yeah, that's probably right. I'm with you. Chris, more Noah Gray, or are you happy with where he's at?
Honestly, I want more Noah Gray and more Jody Fortson.
Yeah.
I really liked what I saw on Jody Fortson's catch and him going over and basically wiping out the 49ers player. I don't like injuries, so I'm not trying to say I like that part of it, but he got involved in the offense when it wasn't the red zone. I think that's really what you need to start using him for because I think he can bring a different dynamic than what they have outside of what Travis Kelce does.
Yeah.
I'm down.
And like you said, Dan, they've already started to get to a point where they're not having Kelce on the field as much. Use your guys to take advantage of what they do well that is as close to Travis as you can get. And I think that Fortson has some of those qualities.
Yep.
I won't argue. Justin, thank you again. Chiefs win out all the way to the Super Bowl with this energy. Prove me wrong. They played this game. They beat everybody on the schedule, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's been the big problem, though. What team's going to show up?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the big question I have is how are they going to adjust? Because I feel like they knew what the 49ers were going to do and they had a good game plan for it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is what's really screwed Kansas City, screwed their offense up at times this season. And in the past is the Bengals game in the AFC Championship game is a great example. They completely changed what they were doing on defense in the second half. And if teams do that, then they don't adjust as well. And Mahomes is all world, but that's what has been his Achilles heel. So can they win out? Yes, but they're going to play some defenses, and they play the Bengals. They're on their schedule. So
yeah, I'm with you. Adam Chanel, thanks. I think your cousin played pretty good today. I'm pretty happy. We appreciate you being here very much. Awesome. Info, JJ Watt is a free agent at the end of the year. I'm going to say this, and I don't want you guys to take it personal. And if you're in Arizona and you happen to be a member of the Watt family, don't take it personal. TJ's the better Watt brother right now.
It's not close.
I'm sorry.
He has been for years.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, see? Okay. I knew you guys were going to agree.
Dan, you and I are agreeing on so much tonight.
Here we are.
It's kind of creepy. You guys are making me nervous. My name is Vale. Thank you again, appreciate and welcome back. Jerry Jeudy is available. Would that now be just as good as DJ Moore when you factor in the skill set and the capital it would take to get both? I actually don't think so. DJ, I think, is more explosive and puts higher stress on safeties than Jeudy does. I think Jeudy works best in a role that right now is being occupied by Juju. Do you guys see something different?
No. And he also falls down after he catches the ball every time and is kind of an injury risk. Yeah, he drops some passes too. And I also don't think the Denver Broncos would trade Jerry Jeudy to the Chiefs. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, just because he wants out doesn't mean they do an interdivision trade. So,
hey, really quick though, I know this hasn't been asked, but what are your thoughts on Russell Wilson dropping like he has in Denver so far?
I'm surprised. Dan, were you surprised?
So I've had some extensive discussions, some film sessions with some of my buddies, and for Russell Wilson, he doesn't trust anything in Denver. He trusts nothing. And that has been the biggest issue, in my opinion. And when you look at his offensive line, it's been garbage. They haven't been able to consistently run the ball. And Russell Wilson is not seeing the middle of the field right now because, again, he can't see over his offensive line. And he also just doesn't trust anyone to be in the right spot. This is a brand new offense for him. It's a whole new set of weapons. It's a whole new offensive line. It's a whole new everything. And when you don't have that trust, as much as I think the disservice that Pete Carroll did to him at times in Seattle, he trusted everybody. He understood the strengths and the weaknesses of that team. He doesn't know anything about this team right now, and it's showing on the field.
I can't argue. It just caught me off guard because I thought a fresh start would allow him to reset himself.
Yeah, me too.
It seems that he's redoubled down on what he had become, more of a celebrity than the quarterback, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
You hate to see it, but hey, actually I don't, because you play for the wrong team, pal. You should have gone elsewhere. Anyway, at the end of the day, that's what it is.
The whole reason I asked that question, just a really quick follow-up, you don't think it's a matter of him getting to a point where he could actually trust them then this year? It doesn't, because it doesn't seem like he's gotten anywhere close within now we're in the first 7 weeks.
Yeah, and his offensive line keeps getting hurt, like even worse. Yeah. So I don't think that it's going to get better this year.
I can't see it happening either. But we have a lot more to get into, and I know once the snaps come out, we see performance. We'll take another look at the film as well. You guys will have more for you tomorrow. The Q&A is tomorrow night live at 6 p.m. Central, just like every week. So if you're not one of us yet, hit that sub. Make sure that you click the like if you would, like Javonte was saying. I would appreciate that. We all would. We have everything from Gary, from Jason Dunn will be back on the channel this week. Seth, all of our crew, we're always putting it out. And you can find Chris hosting Locked On Chiefs on our channel on Locked On Chiefs, as well as the audio platforms. So thank you for jumping in tonight, Chris. It's kind of nice to have 3 people on. I thought it went really well. Yeah, thank you to FLDB. Thank you for everyone for being here. Thank you, Dan, for locking stuff down when I have screw-ups.
Oh, of course. My camera's not working anyway, so, it is what it is.
And I just have to say thank you for everybody asking me about Built Bar, and no, I did not mention them once until just now.
I know. We made it almost all the way through the show.
Almost.
Okay. But, guys, if you want to check out Built Bar, the code's locked on. I'm just saying. All right. You guys have a good night. Enjoy your Monday. We'll talk to you tomorrow. All right.